Monbasa Mvita. Topic: alien human hybrids. This is an interesting topic. We have talked of the purported existence of many species of aliens. But aliens did not just appear recently. They were there before we were born. They were there in the ancient Egyptian religion. People who have been able to move to the pharaoh's tombs, this is the pyramids, have seen drawings of entities that appear to be alien. Some entities look very interesting. Let's say, for instance, the god Anubis is some entity in a human form with the head of a jackal. And people thought it was just a depiction of the powers that the god had. But I told you of an experiment that was done by the Russians, getting the head from one dog to another, and it lived for a while. So we can see a possibility of crossing heads or certain parts of the body to other animals. But that is not essentially the main thing that is concerned with. When I looked at the YouTube writings, that was 2 days ago, I saw that there is breeding of certain kinds of aliens with human beings in order to produce higher species, higher performance species to inhabit the earth and to do the work for them and to go to other stellar systems or planetary systems. There are laboratories purportedly that are breeding human alien offspring. And it appears that the human alien hybrids are brighter than both the aliens and both the humans. So it's a process that has been going on. It was a process that was going on before we got to know what is happening. It is a process that some people in the esoteric, with esoteric knowledge, may have known, but we, the exoteric, had no idea what happened. In the ancient Egypt, drawings, writings, they were aliens who had superior technology. They were called gods because they would perform higher activities, miraculous things to the normal people that time. And they were the average people. There are depictions of things that purportedly appear to be experiments of aliens with humans, crossbreed. As I was looking for what I saw, that was about some 2-3 days ago. About 2 days ago, I guess, or 2-3 days ago. I realized that the same thing has been happening. There was a description of a species of aliens that is almost similar to us. There are different varieties or races within that species. And that species is endowed in a different way. We have the best circulatory system. They have a higher endocrine system but a poor circulatory system. So those aliens never get infections like we do. And there has been a crossing of human with that species. The species is said to be very vocal, more talkative than we are. And to those that don't vocalize, they are able to observe a lot telepathically. There are some species, like that video was explaining, that are clones of certain higher species. They say they look like the species that Hitler would talk about, the Aryan species, the pure Aryan species, like the Ariana that Mr. Bad encountered. There are also species that are highly knowledgeable. They can teleport. But the grace, there are also different species of grace. It's not one species. They were saying that some of those Ariani type of entities that have been crossed, mostly sometimes they're not crossed, they are cloned by the grace, and they deprive them of the ability to teleport and reduce their psychic activity so that they serve them as slaves. There are some who are cloned who don't have genitals, so they are neither male or female. Because there was a time when I looked in the dictionary and I knew angels were men and women. And then another time I looked at some dictionary explanation from some denominations was saying that angels are sexless entities. This how I got to understand from that. Those entities that are cloned, some end up with the sex organs just like any other, and they are able to multiply. But there are some species of alien species that have lost their genitalia. I don't know why it is. And some have been cloning themselves with human embryos. That's why mostly they abduct women, and many experiments are being done with women. There is a species that is highly knowledgeable, but it appears to be becoming an extinct species, struggling to interbreed with humans so that it can have those surviving to inhabit the earth. There are those that just intercross because the human being, the Adam, seems to be a superior crossing material. May not be superior intellectually as they are, but there are certain quantities that the human being has that they prefer. So many have been crossing with human beings, and there are many crosses between human beings and different alien species. Like we said, there are many kinds of species. Others are reptile-like, others are amphibious-like, but there are crosses of human and those across the line up to maybe the insect type. Different crosses for different reasons. That is what we looked from the past and realized that the Egyptians had such a things. There were some crosses that were terrible, like they were saying there was an esophagus, a coffin that they had put even there because one of the crosses, animal-human cross, was a very bad leader, a dictator. So bad that when it died, they wanted to do everything they could do to get rid of anything, even a cell surviving. So the crosses are going on purportedly. I'm not saying they are going on purportedly according to those reports. And in the scheme of things, I am not an authority, but I'm saying in the scheme of things, we may need to be more united, because sometimes where we aim for the truth to come from, it does not come. Or sometimes the truth that we would have got is controlled. There's hypnotism, and there is fear, and there is tracking, psychic tracking, and many kinds of tracking. So there may be those who would have good intention of telling us, but they cannot be able. I told you, when you are tracked in a psychic manner and all the electronic media that you have, there comes a time you cannot share a secret. When you are asleep, it's a 24-hour process. When you get up, they get up with you. When you go to the toilet, they go. When you talk to somebody, when you start thinking, things are being picked. So there are others who may not be willingly doing it, but psychologically they are moved. Or the threats that they have, they are moved. And that's why many will always talk of being followed by strange things, strange vehicles, strange people in suits, and such like things. Because there are certain things that are happening that will require the human race to get together in diversity. In diversity. I told you, if we had one strong army, you've seen an example of what is happening. If we put our security and everything under one strong entity, supposing the entity goes wrong, the country goes wrong, what do you do? What do you do? You've seen examples that have been happening around the world. So you cannot entrust the human race, the human people, in one security system. Neither one way of thinking, that they should be organized in a certain similar system. I think that's where the Bible tells us of the Tower of Babel. Maybe situations like the ones we're experiencing had occurred before. And the solution was units to have unity in diversity. Because if we didn't have that in diversity, I'm thinking we could be talking of different things because of what you have been seeing happening around the world. Those with power think they can lord it over those without power. So it's good when we have many centers of power, so that, you know, if I try to push this, they can also. So the crossing has been going on secretly or purportedly going on, and there may be crossbreeds within or crossbreeds without that have been an interbreed between the humans and those entities. But it has not just begun now. Even during the time of the Egyptians, it was going on. Some of the entities that people called gods had been aliens of higher abilities, higher intellectual abilities, higher performance abilities. Like if you follow the story of Bad and the purported high jump operation, you will see things that you cannot believe. You will hear things that you cannot believe. Get to it and see what happened. So there are many things that have happened. There are many that have influenced our religion, some for a negative purpose. But the key thing is faith. Never lose your faith, because faith seems to be an ability that we possess that may match those that have got operating from the spiritual realms, that have got other extraordinary abilities that are not seen within. It's only that Our religions, our thinking, our systems have suppressed our abilities. And that is where they want us to be, suppressed, not knowing what is within you, not knowing what is happening out there, so that you internally remain suppressed. I talked of total stealing, and I told you can be stolen because this is not the final us. When you stop living, something leaves you. That one can also be enslaved. And some agendas may be to depress this one so that they depress the other one, keep it in captivity. That's why I'm saying that we should not be so gullible to everything that comes our way, but we should treat everything with suspicion until when we are very sure there is nothing suspicious about it. We created democratic government systems, but look at them, the way they operate. Are they democratic? So it's a high time that citizens stood up. It's a high time that we ate the fruit. Be knowledgeable. Try to get knowledge from all sectors. Don't be the exoteric type that is known. Try to grasp the esoteric and the exoteric. Be there. Be knowledgeable in all fields. Don't just put yourself in one sphere. And particularly so, beliefs in religion. Be very careful as you tread. But remember, faith is not replaceable. Have faith. Open up to greater things. You are greater than what you think. That is Kariangofo saying Kariango. That is my take for now.